What is up? What is up? Coach Darius here, and I am tuning in live with you all for our Just Can't Fail stream. Really super excited for the host that we have, the guest that we have tonight. And so I will not spoil it just yet. But in the meantime, gang, I want to thank you all for giving me your time and energy and your attention. I value it. I do not take it for granted. So thank you all for tuning in on the second Thursday of the new year, 2021. All right, gang. So make sure we go ahead to StreamYard.com/Facebook to make sure that you just click the blue button, put your name there, so that way you can come up as a person, a name, and not just a Facebook user. That is so boring. And so make sure that you do that. Head to StreamYard.com/Facebook. All right, gang. And so we're going to have a very cool show tonight. I'm really excited to speak with Justin Abad. And I'll get a little bit more details as we get him closer to the show, as we introduce him. But in the meantime, please let me know where you're tuning in from. Let us know, if you're watching this live, or if you're watching this via replay. Empowered Growth. Give me your name, Empowered Growth. Long time, but I see you're still doing great. I appreciate that so much, but you got to give me your name. It's hard to see the little avatar image here, so that way I can shout you out properly. But thank you so much, Empowered Growth, for tuning in. Please, and if you all have any questions, please do type them in the comments. We'll be sure to get to them. And let us know where you, Takesha. Hello. Thanks for tuning in. And so make sure that you let me know where you're tuning in from, so I can give a shout out to your city, your place. I didn't forget about you, John. I'm coming to you. But thank you for tuning in. Let us know where you are tuning in from. And that way, again, I can give a shout out to you, your city, your town, all of that good stuff. All right. And so also let us know if you are watching the live or you're watching the replay. And please, we have a lot of great stuff happening tonight. So let's be the leader that you are within your circle and share this. Hey, of course. Love to see it. Homegrown, baby. Let's go. But make sure you share this, some likes, some comments, some love buttons, all of that good stuff. So that way we can get you in your circle leveling up. Because remember, you're going to be the average of the people you spend the most time with. So you want those people happy. You want those people whole. You want those people healthy as well. So please do share this with anyone. Temecula, California. Awesome. Ebony, Jersey City. The second home, baby. That is the second home for myself. Thank you for tuning in once again, Ebony. I really appreciate it. I think you've been on everyone shouting out, so I appreciate that. Appreciate the support. Great job this morning at the workout too. So, gang, again, let's head over to StreamYard.com/Facebook. That way, again, we can shout you out. We know where you are tuning in from. And that way you're more than just a Facebook user, okay? All right, gang. So let's get after it. All right, just give me one moment, just making sure things are on the up and up on the page, okay? So like I said, make sure you tune in. Make sure you let us know where you're tuning in from. Please share this. Like this, give some thumbs up, some hearts, all of that good stuff. If you can share this with your team, maybe share it with your crew, put it on your page. That would be awesome. So that way we can start to have a greater reach. But more so, you're giving such a great gift to those that are closest to you. All right. So let's make sure we can make that happen. And so I am going to be bringing to the stage, our virtual stage here, Justin Abad. I want to share how I came across Justin Abad. So Justin, 2 years ago, It was 2018, 2019, after the year that we had somewhere around, I believe it was 2018, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So as a coach, sometimes I was between trying to grow the business, being the best coach that I could be. I think I did not prioritize my personal health and fitness. I don't want to say my health, but my fitness practice as much as sometimes I've done in the past. And so it was always, I'll take care of these appointments, fitness strategy sessions, plan out, do these things. And then when I had time, I would work out. And, thank God I was in a position where I did have control over my schedule. So it worked out, but it still wasn't at the level that I knew it could be. And so 2018, January, I decided to really just create this time out for myself, to join the gym, to be coached, and to just like really prioritize my personal health and fitness journey. And so getting back to levels that I once was, and that was important to me to continue to get to a level of strength and performance that I once was. And so that sparked me to join Black House in Jersey City. And it was my first experience with CrossFit. And I signed up initially because that gym was not a traditional CrossFit. It was a strength and conditioning. The owners had 2 other CrossFit gyms, which they later became CrossFit. This particular gym later became CrossFit. But that was my introduction. And so it was a great experience, really great coaches. Shout out to the team at Black House, Jason and Christy and Tags and all of those, Jeff and all of the coaches that was there. Really great time there. But so what would happen is that was my main gym. But when I would because I was working so much in Jersey City, when I was in Newark, I would bounce back and forth. And so I would join Arrival CrossFit when I was, if I was working in Newark and I had to get a workout in on the drop-in sort of basis. And so I'm here, super excited. This is how Justin and I came across. He is the head coach as well as the general manager of Arrival CrossFit here in Newark, New Jersey. And just a really great dude, great technical coach, just a great dude. And I'm really excited to bring him on. And so I want to, Justin Abad is part coach and proponent of success through perspective shifts. Part spiritual samurai, all man on a mission to deliver and redefine perspective on a masculine relationship to the world he contributes to. And so I'm really excited to bring Justin to the stage, and let's have our virtual high fives and claps for Justin. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Derek, what is up, brother?
Yeah, nothing much, man. I'm excited to have you. How are you doing?
I feel incredible, man.
Awesome.
It's always good to connect with you. Anytime we have the chance to catch up outside of work, outside of a workout, this is playtime right now. So I'm excited to be here sharing space with you.
Awesome, man. Listen, totally received that. Excited to have you. Excited to deliver some really great value for our viewers here. And so, Justin, what we're going to do, we're going to hop right in with some rapid fire. So that way the people can get to a good idea, a snapshot of who you are, and we'll dive much deeper. And so I don't want you to give too much thought to it. I want you to come off the top of your head. We have 5 rapid fire questions that we're going to go through here. Mm-hmm. And so the first one, Justin, is name the 3 things that are most important to you.
Mental, spiritual, and emotional well-being.
Awesome. And why? Are those in any sort of level, any sort of ranking, or is it just?
No, not in any order particularly. But yeah. What I think about is a triangle, and so they all represent equal points on a triangle. And what people, myself, I've come to realize is that when I operate from that triangle in a healthy manner, I create impact for a positive scale with everyone that I interact with.
Yeah. Awesome. And so what is something you do daily to level up your mindset?
Ask good questions, ask hard questions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Curiosity is a powerful motivator. It's a powerful way of realizing who you are as an individual and realizing who you aren't. And we could dive deeper into that as we go, but
yeah, absolutely.
That's where I'm gonna keep it.
Awesome. I don't want to veer off to, but when you say ask good questions, are you asking questions to yourself? This is kind of what your mental sort of kind of self-talk that you're asking.
Absolutely. In any scenario that you enter, you're always going to be the X factor because you are the person within it, right? So it doesn't matter where you go. I can go to California, I can go to Texas, these destinations outside.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I'm the person that's there experiencing it.
Yeah.
And so the ability to ask a good question, and as simple as checking in with yourself, like we did backstage,
yeah,
that's a good compass for how you're going to experience what's happening currently in the present.
Awesome. And we can touch base a little bit more on checking in, and we can share, maybe share some tips on how our listeners, the viewers, can utilize that to help them with their success. Okay, so what characteristics do you feel are important, despite where someone may be in their journey? Like, what are those foundational pillars? You know, when we think about, I don't know, hard work, a commitment, work ethic, what are some things you feel that is necessary to help folks succeed?
I'm gonna bring it back to the triangle, and it's definitely patience, integrity, and awareness.
Awesome. Okay. What is your favorite quote?
Oh man, right now I'm really sitting with "Fortune favors the bold."
Say that one more time.
I'm really sitting with "Fortune favors the bold."
Fortune favors the bold.
Yes, sir.
I love that. Listen, man, we have a lot of cool stuff to come back to. All right, awesome. And then, what are some of your best daily rituals? What are some practices that you have on a daily basis to get you feeling your best, just kind of having that positive self-talk and just being at a high level from a mental state?
Definitely movement. And that doesn't have to be in the form of a workout. Movement can be as simple as taking a walk, right? And I think a lot of times people get caught up in how grandiose movement has to be. Right? I have to work out for an hour. I got to maybe do 2 a days, or I got to do my cardio and then my workout after. So I think it's important to have some movement. The body was made to move. Yes, it's capable of sitting, but we got to do what we were born to do, and that's to move it.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the rapid fire, Justin. And so I want to touch, share a little bit about checking in and how has that helped you, and how can someone potentially use that to help them check in with themselves to make sure they're kind of at that optimal state?
Yeah, great question. Yeah. Something I observed that's coming up for me is your awareness, my awareness, right? The ability to interact. A lot of that comes from what you're aware of and what you're not aware of. And so at certain points in my life, if I don't check in, for example, and I know I'm headed to a meeting and I don't acknowledge myself in a check-in with, let's say I woke up late and I keep moving along the day and I get to this appointment, but I haven't checked in with myself to acknowledge that it's okay to wake up late too, right? Like if you're starting off your day and your interactions not in a state of peace or love, that means what are you bringing into that interaction you're going to step into? Probably whatever unconsciously you're feeling. And so, for example, there's been many times you roll in late somewhere, you're in a hurry, and all of a sudden everyone's kind of feeling the same way, or the mood changes in the room. And all it takes is, it's a practice. Checking in is a practice. Getting aware of who you are and where you are in real time and talking to yourself, coaching yourself in that regard is a practice, right? I've had experiences where I say to someone, all right, we're going to check in, 3 words. And then I'll say, I'll go first. I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling strong. I'm feeling present. And then I give them the chance to share where they're at. Sometimes people auto fire, right? What do they say? I'm good. I'm feeling good.
Right. And so what are some, if you can, I guess if we can make this tactical, how can someone learn to check in with themselves? And when should they do that? How often should they do it?
Somewhere to practice is, we're emotional beings, right? If something incredible happens and you know you're happy, what works for me is being able to say, let me point this flag here. Let me draw back to a time where I felt extreme happiness.
Yeah.
Let me check in with that feeling. Let me remember what that felt like. History, right? We all have this history, this story. Within it, there's good, bad, there's ugly, there's triumph.
Yeah.
Each of those has an emotion involved with it. So if you ask someone to tell you a story about wherever they were with an issue in their past, I say, Darius, tell me about a time where you felt triumphant.
Yeah.
I know you could rattle off many stories where you felt that.
I hope so. Yes, I think.
Yes. So that's the first piece. You want to try to create a reference point. You want to create a reference point with yourself and say, where have I felt triumphant in my life? And anchor that in. This involves being slow. So this is no distractions here, no technology. This is simply a self-practice.
Yeah.
So first thing in the morning is a great time to check in with yourself. You wake up. A lot of times I like performance-wise, I'm trying to see how I slept. How am I feeling the first thing? You ever heard someone say, I got up on the wrong side of the bed?
Yeah.
They've just checked in with themselves and they've acknowledged that they're probably in a crap mood.
Right.
So
let me ask you this. So should you acknowledge that you're in the quote unquote crappy mood? Or is it where you sort of ignore it and try, just kind of go to the opposite end of the spectrum?
Mm-hmm. In my experience, ignoring things creates a snowball.
Yeah.
And so you could start with a snowflake in the morning and you ignore it. And what happens at lunchtime, it's gotten a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
What happens at dinner time, it's gotten a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
What happens if you go to sleep with that snowball? You got a blizzard on your hands the next morning.
Very true. Very true. So it's okay to acknowledge that and to be present there. And then what is the next step? So if you do wake up, you're not feeling so great. Like, what is the next step?
Mm-hmm. At that point, there's got to be a series of plan Bs, right? And something I like to do, if I'm not feeling great when I first wake up and I know I have the time to honor myself, what I'm going to do is breath work.
Mm-hmm.
So again, these are all practices that are self relationship and self-mirroring events. You don't need anyone outside of you to do these.
Right.
And so we're bringing it back to the compass, your internal compass and your internal structures for success, being breath work. And something as simple as, all right, I'm going to close my eyes real quick and allow myself to, I'm going to acknowledge that I'm pissed off. I'm not in the greatest mood. But I also know I'm choosing to hold on to this because I've acknowledged it.
Yeah.
So that's the other piece. Once you have a choice and you're aware, why are you still holding on to it?
Right.
So if you say to yourself, like I do, I'll say, okay, I acknowledge that I'm angry or I'm upset. I'm human. Something's happening here.
Yeah.
But when I take these 3 breaths, I'm also in my power and realizing I can let this go.
Yeah, that's powerful. I love that. So Justin, you said an amazing quote, and I'm going to paraphrase here. That something favors the bold. What was that word though?
Fortune favors the bold.
So what does that mean to you when you read that or you're reminded of that? Like, what does that mean to you, and how do you interpret that into your everyday life?
Yeah, man. Fortune is wealth, and wealth is not just physically based.
Yeah.
We're talking multiple pillars: your mental wealth, your spiritual wealth, yes, your financial wealth, your anything, man. There's so many aspects of your life where you can be wealthy in.
Yeah.
Especially mindset.
Yeah.
Right. And so what I'm realizing is that if you want to activate that wealth within, and eventually turn it into your external wealth, you got to be bold. You can't play small. Something a great mentor said to me one time was, playing small favors yourself. Playing big favors everyone else involved.
Love it. And I want to come back. This is why I'm really excited to have you on, man. Like, we always have really awesome, empowering conversation. And so I think what you have is going to bring a lot of enlightenment to our listeners. And so you mentioned about favor in playing small versus playing big, or, leveling up.
Yes.
And so I'm just curious to know, what do you feel keeps people from leveling up and really chasing the fortunes that we discussed? And what do you feel like, what is that thing that's holding them back?
Fortune's your birthright. And so what's holding us back? A lot of things is fear.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. And fear most times, let's let's just bring it there real quick. False evidence appearing real.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And fear's a lot of times this event that hasn't happened yet. So there's worry involved.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And so obviously, fear, failure, and that's what this stream is based on, is just can't fail.
Mm.
Right. And so it's being able to utilize the lessons from failure and recognizing like that lesson or that quote unquote failure is soil and not dirt. There's a lot that can come from soil, right? There's the nutrients, there's the right atmosphere to create growth and prosperity. But sometimes we look at failure as like this black and white end all be all. And a lot of times we allow that to stop us in our tracks. And like you said, not living bigger, or not even going bigger, or dreaming bigger. Mm-hmm. And so what are some things that you feel, some practices our viewers can have when it comes to playing bigger and going for the fortune? You mentioned that as our birthright. Mm-hmm. I think some people may not understand that and feel that. And someone that may be watching that has come from or that's maybe in a rut right now. Like, what can you tell that person that may be watching this to help them get to that level to chase the fortune that we're all due?
So that goes back to 24 hours, our routine, our daily practice of being us, right?
Yeah.
And so within your routine, there are a few structures you should have in place, ideally, that dictate success. One being, like I was saying, movement. And so let's dive deeper on movement.
Yeah.
I operate Arrival Fitness.
Yeah.
And so it's a gym. It's stationed right here in New York, in the downtown area. We're open 6 days a week.
Yeah.
And we have classes morning, noon, and evening. So there's always an opportunity throughout this day, depending on where someone's routine is, to get in. And to dive deeper on that, working out it's glorious, but it's always a series. It's also a series of temporary failures, right? We literally have to, in some ways, if I'm working legs, I don't grow unless I go to failure.
Right. Say that one more time for the people in the back. Say that one more time for the people in the back.
Ladies and gents, you can't grow without pushing yourself to failure.
Yeah.
So that means with growth being on the failure spectrum, you're going to experience failure time and time again, because that's part of growing. That's what human beings do. We grow.
Yeah.
And so what myself, that I tell my clients, right?
Yeah.
Failure is coming. And so if it's coming just like the weather, just like I know it's going to rain, can I prepare for it? Can I act accordingly?
Yeah.
Can I make sure that even though it's out of my control, I know it's going to rain on me, I can still go dancing in the rain?
Yeah. Oh, love it. Love it. Awesome. So what are you most excited about in 2021, Justin?
I'm excited. A lot of people talk about resolutions. It's that time of year to talk about what you want to do differently, or what you want to do that you didn't do last year.
Correct.
And my perspective is momentum. Just because 2020 is over numerically, 2021, that's 2020 plus one. Yeah. So what that means is whatever you've done in 2020, whatever seeds you've placed into the ground, karmically speaking, it's going to be plus one in this year, right?
Yeah.
And so what I'm alluding to is all the projects, all the people I've worked with, all the self-mastery, all the relationships I've built in 2020, 2019.
Yeah.
I'm continuing to water and dive fully in on those relationships. Yes, there's always room for new people and to collaborate. Yeah. But I'm talking about whatever I chose to do in 2019 and 2020, specifically, like let's say the gym. We opened 2019 in February.
Yeah.
We had a great first year. 2020 rolled around. It was a very challenging time for small businesses, for everybody on the planet, right?
100%.
And there is something about course correcting, but ultimately I need to remember my why and why I started in the first place.
Yeah.
And so that means focusing on what's still planted, these projects that I have past tense that are in momentum, and still giving them the focus they deserve. Instead of saying it's 2021, I'm going to start 3 new things.
Yeah.
How about keep working on refining what's already in your closet or what's already on your table, so to speak?
Yeah, I love that. And so, for someone that, to start, I feel you have the right perspective, and you're viewing the situation through the lens that's going to serve you.
Mm.
Right. And so there's a lot of conversations that I have with folks that 2020 was like the worst thing to ever happen. Right. The pandemic. And for many people, that's the reality for many, many people. And I don't want to diminish that one bit. And we've all had our trials and tribulations, me included. And so for someone that may have had, a really hard 2020, and for, they're not seeing the soil versus the dirt, like, what can they do now to kind of create these things on the table, or these relationships or outlets on the table to start watering those seeds that they are, that hopefully they can start sowing today?
Yeah, beautiful question. And the answer to that is, a lot of people, for me, the answer that I've observed is a lot of people felt alone. They felt like they got hung out to dry.
Yeah.
And so within that personality feeling, you got to find your way back to a tribe and a series of people or resources that are going to be those positive lighthouses amongst all the darkness. One of them being this conversation right here, your platform included. Instagram's a powerful tool. The internet's a powerful tool too.
Yeah.
We're at a place of choice. There's infinite choices, man. You can go online and type in inspiration, motivation. You're going to find so many different groups. I don't want to say there's no reason not to have better pieces around you. I'm just saying that we live in 2021. It's the information era.
Yeah.
Whatever you're looking for support-wise, you can find it. And so what I'm realizing for a lot of people is asking for help is actually the hard part. It's not a fact that we don't have enough fruit to try to pick from. It's realizing that, oh man, and this goes back to checking in.
Yeah.
Realizing that you need help. And help is okay. I think we live in this culture, in this world where the lone wolf mentality, hustle, grinding, I did it on my own, look at my shine.
Yeah.
It's a great story.
Yeah.
I don't think it's something that's applicable for everyone. And I'm actually more of the all-inclusive community style of leveling up, where I want my growth to also feed into your growth.
Yeah, I totally get that from you, man. Big reason why we're here, right?
Exactly.
And so reflecting on 2020, what have you taken away from it? Like, it was, obviously it did not have, it had its share of down times, but what have you taken away from it?
Oh, 2020 was the year of vision, right? That's what everyone was calling it. It's the year of seeing things.
Same here.
Yeah, right. And so this goes back to truth, living in your truth. And that's really challenging.
Yeah.
I think in some form, we're either lying to ourselves or we're living in our truth. Mm-hmm. And these are all conscious and unconscious processes. The most beautiful thing, for example, someone can do is say, right, I need help. Yeah. Next thing you do, they show up at the gym, they book a consult, they seek a professional who can provide help. Yeah. And so on the spectrum, what 2020 has showed me is it's the year of helping. Yeah. Right? There was so much amongst the madness and all the crazy stuff that occurred. It just showed me that we're in this together, man. I know that sounds super cliche, but the people who truly believe that, the people who truly want to help and be synergistic to others, that's being magnified right now, big time.
Yeah.
That consciousness, that unity consciousness it's the year of helping. And I think 2021 is more of that. It's doubling down on helping. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And what are some ways you feel that, we speak about 2020, people were lonely. It's hard to ask for help. And I know sometimes I can be in that that sort of frame as well.
Right there with you. Mm-hmm.
So what are some things that people can do, but also what can, like, us as friends and family and individuals, how can, this is a two-part question, how can someone, if I am the person that needs help, how can I do a better job of asking for help? And then as someone that's also a friend and a son and a husband, and like have, you know, a circle, like in any sort of social circle, how can I open the door to let my friend know that if you do need help, like, we are here, or I'm here to help?
Yeah, man, everything starts with us. It starts with you. It starts with me leading by example. And so it's beautiful for two leaders, people in a place of leadership, to say that they've also had challenges with help, right? That makes you relatable. That makes you human.
Yeah.
It'd be hard for me to take you seriously if you're like, you know, I've never had a challenge in my life. I'm good. I don't need help, right? That's not somebody who I even want to help, right?
Yeah.
That person's already got it. They're straight.
Yeah.
And so what I'm advocating for is, if you're in any position to give back or help, leading by example and knowing the door is open. A lot of times people don't realize the door is open, and they think they need to knock a few times. And so an open door policy is important, and it's exhuming that all the time.
Yeah. Awesome, man. And so what's your origin story? I mean, we've gotten deep. Yeah. But let's listen. We just going to have a good time and have a really great conversation, and again, continue to deliver value. And I do want to take this time just to thank everyone that's tuning in. Again, please let us know if you're live, if you watch the replay, where you're tuning in from, so that way we can shout you out. So talk to us. What is your origin story like? How did you get here, coach of almost 10 years? What has been your story?
That's a good question, man.
Yeah.
And I will say I start off not being particularly athletic. I grew up a very overweight, obese kid. And so that's a stacked deck in terms of, you know, let's go back to feeling wealthy. I didn't feel wealthy. I didn't have confidence. I didn't feel supported. I didn't feel good in my own body. Right. And so the relationship you have with self is going to dictate the relationship you have with everything else outside of you.
Love that.
And when I was 18, I saw a picture of myself and I didn't recognize that person.
And why is that?
I wasn't present, man. I didn't realize how off the rails I got. No boundaries, no respect. And let's talk about eating for a second. Eating it's an item that's either medicinal, right? It can create and can grow the human body, but it can also do things like create inflammation.
Yeah.
It can create disease.
Yeah.
And so how someone eats is a large sign of self-respect and where they're at in their own journey. And if you saw me at 18, 19 years old, you would say this person has no boundaries with self or respect for self, because I would just consume.
Yeah.
And whether I knew that on a subconscious level or not, I'm not really sure, but I knew that I did not want to live a day further into my existence being this version of myself. That's what that picture represented.
Yeah.
Being that present tense and being like, I don't know if I could spend another day walking in those shoes, being that guy.
Yeah.
And so intolerability, that was the matchstick that led me down this track to start losing the weight. And the first thing that I did was I sought help, man. I hired a personal trainer.
Yeah.
And I was 17, 18 at this time, didn't have a job. So I remember being this age and getting a paper route.
Yeah.
Star Ledger, Monday through Saturday, 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Delivering papers till 7 a.m. It wasn't pretty.
Right.
And it was hard work. I'm not a morning person either. But I knew if I wanted to go from A to B as quickly as possible, I couldn't do it alone. And furthermore, I wasn't down to spend the next year or so failing on my own. I wanted leadership. Wanted help.
Love it. And so what was it like growing up in your household? Was there an emphasis on fitness or nutrition? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so for background, I am first generation Filipino.
Mm-hmm.
I was born here. My parents came over in the 80s.
Okay.
And their largest focus was creating a better life than the one they had back home.
Yeah.
With that creation comes a little bit of survival. So not always having the greatest or the nicest or the latest things, having items that was going to get you where you needed to go, right? So it wasn't like we weren't rich by any means. And what I'm ultimately getting at is my parents did as much as they could to keep us in a state of safety.
Yeah.
To dive a little bit deeper, the relationship I have with my father it's a pretty fractured one at the moment.
Yeah.
This was a gentleman who, for a large part of my life, was physically present. We lived together, was not emotionally supportive, not physically outwardly supportive, a very stoic individual, right? All he knew was go to work, put some food on the table, make sure my grades were straight. And that was it for me as his child. And what I realized is that was good soil in terms of it's brought me to a compensation effect where I've done so much internal growth on myself. And I've realized not everyone's soil is the same. However, it's what we need to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And was that a catalyst for you getting into, you kind of told a story about being 18, working the paper route,
Mm-hmm.
to invest in your well-being and yourself. Was that the catalyst that sort of seems like that got you into fitness? Like, how did you get into fitness? And like, what has that journey been like for you?
Yeah, I had two specific people in my life that were in the fitness industry that changed my life for the better. And what I mean is being at that age, not having a lot of confidence. Statistic that came up the other day, I think from gentlemen, males under the age of 35, suicide is one of the highest rates among that population, myself included. I was in that place where I did not particularly value my life on this planet.
Yeah.
And so I had two individuals that through health and fitness, they were the people that I wanted to be. They were the superheroes in my life, the tangible off-screen people that exemplified discipline, creativity, pretty much everything that I was missing from my childhood with regards to the way I grew up.
Yeah.
And so they provided that pillar. And what I realized was I showed them through my own work ethic. I showed up for my sessions on time. I busted my ass.
Yeah.
And they knew I didn't have money like that. So they knew I was really scrounging to make the ends meet with these sessions. And they were like, you know what, there's something about your resolve and your motivation to better yourself that is, let's say it's uncommon.
Yeah.
You're willing to do more than just show up.
Yeah.
And so I poured as much as I could into that 60 minutes with that person. I would text them after or text them before. What do you think about this? Essentially a sponge, man. I was trying to grab all the low hanging fruit that I could.
Yeah. Awesome.
And then one day I remember I did lose the weight, right? I went from 290, got to 200.
That's awesome, man.
That's a journey within itself. That's a physical representation of favoring the bold, right? Being bold.
Yeah.
And so what I realized there is if I can do it from the place I grew up in, I can also be a physical example for that for others.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. And listen, you speak a lot, with that representation. One of the things that I'm a huge proponent of is continue to acquire your skill sets, yes, but also to continue to develop your character and yourself as an individual. And I this is something I'm constantly mentioning to my members around. In order for this to create this change, and like this is the last time that you're trying to lose weight or trying to do these things, you have to like elevate and become a higher version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And along with this physical transformation, how much does that impact your mental fitness and your emotional fitness? And like, who are the person that you are today, like versus the person that you were at 290. So essentially what I'm asking, like, obviously fitness has played a huge role in your life on
Yes.
so many different levels. So if you can just share kind of, how it was going versus where you are now, that would be great, Justin.
How it was going. There's something special about fitness and being guided, because it's a one man or one woman. It's a one person journey. And what I mean by that is, like, I can't do the reps for you.
Yeah.
You can't do the reps for me, right? And so you talk about building something for yourself. A body is something you can build and you can destroy, but ultimately you're the person. I'm the person doing that. I'm contributing to that, right?
Yeah.
And so we talk about repetition. We talk about refinement. Why not be a living example of what you could reach, what someone could reach? That's what we need right now in the world. We need more of those everyday people in the trenches saying, hey, it's tough, it's challenging, it's been that way.
Yeah.
But I chose not to stay there. And so it's powerful to do it for yourself.
Yeah.
No one can take that away from you.
Yeah.
It'd be like building a castle by yourself, right?
Yeah.
It takes a lot of time, a lot of sweat, a lot of adversity you're going to face. You're going to get rained on, you're going to get snowed on.
Yeah.
But ultimately your resolve, you showing in and day out, being consistent with who you are, no one can take that away from you, because at the end of the night, you're waking up to you and you're going to bed to yourself. Right? And so what I'm advocating for here is, it goes back to your relationship with you. That sets the tone for everything. And you want to feel confident. You want to feel all these different ways. Fitness as a practice, not as a get lean quick or put on muscle quick thing. It's great. It's temporary though. That's a temporary fix.
Yeah.
That's why New Year's resolutions, they've existed. That's why people make a lot of money this time of year, right?
Correct.
People are trying to get back on that. Let me just get this first month going. Let me try to lose this. And that's just a repeat button for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a forever game. And it's definitely, as someone, obviously I'm a coach, I'm a business owner. And it is the thin line between selling someone that end goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's really hard to sell the journey. When I tell someone, tell someone it's a forever game, like it really is, right? So it's like we don't want to be happy for just 12 weeks. We don't. We want to be happy and healthy for forever. Mm-hmm. And so, no one wants to look back and say, you know what, I was happy and healthy and fit when I was 34. Mm-hmm. And so it's something that we want to create the lifestyle. And so I'm curious to know, like, what are some of the steps that you, like, how long did it take you to drop those 90 pounds? And what were some of the things that you did to achieve that?
Yeah, man. I think that for anybody listening, if you can consider a time where you knew you wanted something so badly, you can go A to B so quickly in order to cover that distance to reach that goal. I was a man on a mission.
Yeah.
And so being mission oriented, that's something that we need to try to activate more within ourselves. Yes, distractions happen.
Yeah.
And that, in terms of that experience, that was over the course of 2 years.
Okay.
Right.
Awesome.
And so I knew that it wasn't going to be something that could be done quickly. It's not like a patch fix, so to speak.
Yeah.
But during that whole process, I was learning so much about what I was capable of, and that can be an empowering thing. I think as children, what makes children so beautiful is that they're constantly seeing how powerful they are.
Yeah.
Especially from the world around them, right? That positive influence. I think a lot of times as adults, we lose that ability to experience how life can be empowering, right? 2020, for example, was a really disempowering time for a lot of people. It was a gut check, a reality check.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately we had to wipe our eyes to get back to the truth. And that's that we can feel empowered. We need to be reminded there has to be individuals in our lives that exemplify that, and that are reachable, that you could have conversations with.
Yeah.
And so the journey, it's a journey because it's been fun. And by fun, I mean at every stretch of it, I've been able to see how empowering it's been. That's what I think when you lose the first 10 pounds, you've seen it with your clients, I'm sure.
Yeah.
They get that first bit of progress, and that's the gasoline that keeps them moving forward.
Yeah, 100%.
So for adults, it's progress. For kids, I call it empowerment. But I think they're both one and the same.
Yeah.
How can you become progressive in your life? That's a great question to sit with.
Yeah.
What does progressive look like? And a lot of people, I know myself included in that version of myself, everyone thinks big. I thought big. What is the biggest thing I could do? And that was playing bold, right? That's playing big. That's doing things like maybe working out multiple times a day because I was on that mission. But having a structure, I had a trainer who programmed these workouts, and I had one session with him, and he would give me homework to do throughout the week.
Yeah.
Then I had my eating in check. I made sure that I was eating in a respectful manner that reflected somebody who was refueling and rebuilding the body, as opposed to somebody that was tearing down, destroying, and disrespecting the body.
Yeah, 100%. Justin, how does one's identity play a role in creating a healthy lifestyle?
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel are the secrets for someone to not only start this journey, but really make it a part of who they are? Like what has to transpire there?
Ooh, you gotta be real with yourself.
Yeah.
And to bring
what does that mean? What does that mean? You have to be real with yourself.
Yeah. I think part of the culture today is something like Instagram, for example, which a lot of it is built on the highlight reel effect.
Yeah.
Let me show you the dopest still shots of what I'm up to.
Yeah.
And so that's only one version of someone's identity.
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword. I think it can be used to be empowering if you're in the right mindset, and you can be motivated by, if this person can get there, so can I.
Yeah.
But it could also be that double-edged sword, right? Where it's like, oh, that person's there, I'm not there. Why am I not there?
Mm-hmm.
And so what I mean by being real is being radically honest and accepting that wherever you go, there you are. And what does that even mean, right? How you treat yourself is how you're going to treat other people. How you respect and how you value the world you live in and the people you interact with, depending on how they look based on their identity. Yeah. You still treat them with the same level of honesty, respect, and integrity that you give to yourself. So I know that's a little bit out there in terms of actionables. But to be real with yourself, you have to get fed up with yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I did when I was 18, 19. I couldn't take another day being that individual. That was one of the first moments I got real and said, okay, no more. I'm no more using food, using these items to lie to myself that I'm comfortable, that I'm okay.
Got it. Awesome, man. And so, like, why is self-talk important when someone is trying to create new habits? You know?
You ever can you think of someone in your life who may have jabbed you, triggered you, made you feel less than? Is there an individual that comes to mind? Challenged you in a manner that's like, oh, this person's under my skin.
I'm sure that's someone. There's nothing that comes to mind right away.
Sure. Ultimately, what I'm getting at, though, is there are people that experience that person, that bully, and it's oftentimes it's not someone outside of them; it's them. You know,
there's an African proverb, and I am butchering this. But it says something along the lines that as long as there's no enemy within, no enemy outside can do any harm.
Ooh, that is a banger.
And so that's pretty much, I think that sums it up. And so and you and I have talked to great extents. We spoke about expectations and those sorts of things. And so that is a lot of kind of where I am. And I'm sure that someone has gotten under my skin, Justin, but as I'm thinking through this, and I don't want to be that person that says like I don't have problems, because I do have problems, but I've been very blessed, man, to have like really awesome people that really uplift me in my circle. And so I'm really, really thankful and blessed for that. So how do you find, you and I have talked about football to extents and competing and athletics. And, one of the things that I'm a huge believer in, obviously I have played football. So yeah, I'm probably a little bit biased there, but I feel like it's very synonymous to life. You and I talked about this conversation about the best team, like being in a series of 7. The best team more than likely will win 4 out of 7 times. And I always say like football is synonymous to life because like we get one opportunity, we get one chance. And so like, what are some things that you can pull from fitness and weightlifting that you feel that are synonymous to life?
Well, the first one that comes up is repetition. No one does just one rep and they step out being the person they want to be.
Yes.
Yeah. So repetition, brother. That's the first thing. No one steps out doing one rep and all of a sudden they get to being that ultimate version of themselves. And so, life is a series of 24-hour repetitions, isn't it?
Shut up to me. But Judy said shut up.
Excuse me.
No problem.
Shut up.
Sorry, y'all.
So like I was saying, guys, when it comes to fitness, one of the first takeaways is that it's repetition. It's repetition based, and the quality of your repetition is important. So having intention with your movement quality, because that's going to dictate injury versus strengthening. That's the first piece, right? Being able to know that you're going to be taking endless repetitions.
Yeah.
So that's the first piece. The second piece is rest. Right? You can't just go to the gym. You just can't work out 24/7, 365. Like we're not built like that. We're not robots. And even robots need downtime. They need the oil change too.
Right.
And so a lot of people, right, they talk about 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. I'm going to hammer it out for that entire time. And I love the energy behind that, but it's also incredibly unrealistic because there will be plenty of storms that you're not equipped to weather.
Yeah.
And so what I'm also advocating for is listening to your body. Yeah. We also live in this culture where we're listening to a lot of things outside of us. And the body is the ultimate technology, right? Checking in. Let's go back to checking in. If you know you're happy, that's wildfire for success. If you know you're sad, if you can reframe that, that's also wildfire for your success. And so it's about that mental resolve. Whatever is coming at you, whatever is coming in, if you can find a way to reframe that and use that as firewood for that destination you want to get to, that ultimate fortune you want to get to, you're playing in an infinite game of success. You're wealthy to begin with. Every single scenario that you're interacting with is a chance to deposit wealth into whatever that bank is.
Yeah. Awesome. So talk to me, Justin. What is your definition of failure?
Failure is, it's part refinement, and also part reality check. And so what I mean by that is something that comes up for me is if I end up 100 years down the line, I don't want to feel like I failed. What I mean by that is didn't live up to the potential, the fullest potential of who I was. To me, that would be an ultimate failure, something I can't come back from, right? And so with that perspective, the framework I'm talking about here is all these little failures and these experiences in my life are just points of refinement. And those are the firewood that I need in order to make sure I don't end up shortchanging myself by the time I'm 100.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Why? So you gave us your definition on failure. Earlier in the talk, we spoke about being bold. We spoke about how what keeps folks from, dreaming bigger is the fear of failure. But why do you feel we should aim to fail more? And you spoke about it when it comes to fitness. But like, why should we aim to fail more? And I really want you to get granular.
Granular, yeah.
Because some folks are going to hear this and be like, man, Darius, you tripping. Justin, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. And so I want you to really get granular and like put it into like, if we can speak in even bullets to make it tactical, that would be great.
Okay. So the first thing that comes up for me is I've learned more about myself in my failures than I have in my success points. And what I mean is when you get 100 out of 100 on something, what more is there to experience? You already know.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so with failing, taking multiple tries at something, I've learned so much more about where I needed to hit a level up or where I needed to have a better answer for myself. And so what I mean within failure is that it's on the recipe for growth. You can't have one without the other.
Yeah.
And the other thing here to think about, tactically speaking, is the sweetness of victory is contrasted by how much failure sucks. You got to be able to taste that failure because that makes the victory that much sweeter. That is the firewood that gets you to going to, damn, it feels so good to stand on this mountaintop, even though I might have failed how many times over trying to get up here.
Yeah.
And so I'm bringing it back to feeling based because these emotions, these things within us, our hormones, our inner chemistry, they're responsible for so much of our mood, so much of our identity, so much of our thought process, our mindset.
Yeah.
A lot of this is tied back to an emotional state.
Yeah.
And I don't mean overly emotional or dramatic. I mean being attuned to the vibrations that are within you. So acknowledging being in that happy state, being in a sad state, and knowing when those things are happening, kind of like when you know it's raining.
Yeah.
And being able to weather that. And so your internal weather, right? Knowing that through failure, because I feel what failure feels like, and using that as, for example, let's say we were going to drive to New York, you and I.
Yeah.
And what would you call a failure? Some people will call a failure not getting there or not getting there on time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Traffic.
It's a failure.
Accident.
Mm-hmm.
Tire blown.
But what's actually happening there? If you're patient with yourself, and that's part of this piece too, is patient with yourself.
Yeah.
That failure wasn't your fault. It was something that was planned to happen based on the series of experiences that occurred. So it happened. We call it an accident. I call it an opportunity to learn where you could have planned better. Because with success, there's planning involved. So you need failure to plan where you can be more successful on these routes. Yeah. So the next time you and I drive to the city and we get that flat tire, Darius, I got AAA, I'm good. Darius, I know how to change a tire, I'm good. Darius, I can call an Uber, I'm good.
Yeah.
See, just right there, just from that one failure and experience, I'm now able to produce 3 more examples of productivity and a solution.
Yeah.
So failure exists in order to create solutions.
Awesome. That's powerful, man. And I'm gonna let's peel this onion a little bit.
Yes.
Because I still want us to extrapolate some bullet points, some stuff that are tweetable that we can get up on the screen here. So how can any of our listeners or viewers learn from failure and be able to like look at it from with the correct lens, right?
Mhm.
And like you said, use it as feedback, use it as this opportunity for growth. How can our listeners be able to do that? Like I said, I want them to be able to take this tonight and implement this and improve their life.
Let's start with routine.
Yeah.
Right? Evening routine. It's probably got anywhere from 1 to 10 or more items that set you up for a successful evening of sleep.
Yeah.
And so what I'm encouraging our viewers, our listeners to take account of is if you had let's say you had a 3-step process to getting to bed tonight. And within those 3 steps, it's, okay, 1, I turn off all technology by 10 o'clock, step 1.
Yeah.
Step 2, maybe I read in bed or I take a shower. Step 3, I'm laying in my bed, I'm doing some journaling or some affirmations or something of the sort that brings in that stillness. And that's why I'm huge on not checking the phone, right? So let's talk about tonight. How can we set up for success for tomorrow? Technology, right? Being off screens at least 2 hours before that is success. And so what I'm advocating for is a checklist. What are 3 things that you can try each night that can contribute to your success?
Yeah.
A checklist, a safety list. And keep it 3.
Yeah.
Because even within that, let's say I had a 10-step checklist. That's a lot of actionables for someone to course correct in one evening.
Yeah.
That's a lot to carry. I know a lot of us have full-time jobs, careers, families, and now I'm telling you to add 10 things before the evening, right?
Yeah.
So 3 is good because there's movement in 3, the power of 3.
Yeah.
And within that is the opportunity to practice your patience because you might not get all 3, but you're not going to feel bad if it was 10. Imagine only getting 1 out of 10.
Yeah.
So 1 out of 3 is enough distance where I can create success still, and I know I can still move forward. It's not overwhelming, but I also know there's 3 things that I can refine, that I can check into. Yeah. So those listeners out there, you guys, having a 3-step system that can always be plugged in and subbed out. 1 being technology, ideally lights off and screens off 2 hours before your bedtime.
Yeah.
2, a calming practice. For me, I'll take a shower, a warm shower. That tends to do it for me as well.
Yeah.
It just something about that calming effect of the warmth. And the last thing is either some sort of journaling or gratitude practice and bringing it back to myself.
Awesome. And so I was looking through your Instagram, and with that being said, I'll come back how you can let us know how folks can connect with you. And I came across one of your highlights, and it mentioned Beat a Hammer. So what does that mean, Beat a Hammer? And how can our members, our viewers, utilize that to help them? So a hammer is tool. It's just a tool. You are the power. You are the wielder of the hammer. And the hammer can either be used to construct or destruct items. What I mean by that is if I have my hammer, every action I'm taking day to day, intentionally, unintentionally, I'm either constructing or or destructing. I'm either in a state of building something great or I'm tearing down something. Yeah. And so let's talk about food for a second. Food being the hammer. Yeah. A lot of times we eat and we do these things that we put on weight. It makes us not feel so great about ourselves. It messes with our hormones. It creates inflammation. I would call that destructive. That's a destructive way of using that hammer. Yeah. But I would also say the constructive version of that exists. And that's honoring yourself, being respectful to your body. Like, yes, cheat days and having indulgent days are important in my practice because it's part of the human experience. But within that is self-respect still. And so that's just one variation of the hammer. And the same idea, let's talk about fortune favoring the bold. If you want to build a fortune, you're going to have to lay some bricks, and you're probably going to have to hammer in some positive habits. Yeah. And so that checklist we talked about, that evening checklist, that's a low-hanging fruit.
That's a super low hanging fruit that someone could try tonight. 3 items that bring you joy, that can bring you success and change your mental state while you're sleeping, your hormonal state while you're sleeping. And within that, we all have the power to construct or deconstruct who we are.
Yeah.
Well, that also means we also have the power to construct and deconstruct the people around us.
Yeah.
And so what I'm advocating for is the more time we can spend being in a constructive state. So that means reframing, talking about things like failure and not allowing it to define this state of stagnation where we no longer want to try, but instead this state of the opportunity to build further into who we are, being solutions oriented from a mistake, so to speak, right? That's how we help each other. That's how we get to that next place.
Love it, man. And what are some of the habits that we do want to deconstruct? Obviously, we know some of the more obvious ones. Maybe, the junk food, alcohol, no sleep. But what are some of those maybe subconscious habits that we want to aim to deconstruct to create some better habits and lasting habits that's going to serve us?
Biggest thing right off the bat is that negative self-talk. How many times do you see people, I know I see it quite often, people will miss a lift. Let's talk about the gym, for example.
Yeah.
Let's say you miss a lift, and how you talk about yourself after that failure can dictate how you're going to handle the next time you lift.
Yeah.
And so you got to create the perfect storm, so to speak, for yourself to always be in a state of success when you can. Obviously, that's not perfect.
Yeah.
But what I mean, for example, is let's take a clean and jerk. If I'm coaching an athlete and they get to that front rack position and they miss the lift, there's more to learn about how you missed than the fact that you missed.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's actually less important that you missed or made it. That's the outcome. I want to know about that process in between starting and ending the lift.
Yeah.
How'd you get there? What happens? And within that process of missing or making it, were you confident with yourself? Were you second guessing yourself? Were you doubting yourself? Because that stuff, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So where else in your life, let's use that metaphorical barbell again, you missed the lift. How many times do we miss our sleep schedule and we say, oh, we'll do it tomorrow? Or, oh, I'm such an idiot. I can't believe I did that.
Yeah.
Right? How about we turn it back to, okay, I wasn't where I wanted to be tonight, and I realized that. But you know what? I want to do it tomorrow, and I'm going to get it tomorrow.
Awesome. Listen, per usual, Justin, you're dropping dimes, and I want to really share my gratitude for having you on, man. And we'll continue to have some really great conversations, and we'll definitely create some time to bring you back on. Where can the folks connect with you on the interwebs, Justin, and get more about what you do and how you help folks in the fitness industry?
Absolutely. So right now I'm obsessed with helping the community and where I'm at, and that's why I haven't turned into the internet just yet in terms of my own website or a platform. Yeah. So all the work I do is right here in Newark, New Jersey at Arrival Fitness, 87 Halsey Street, right here in the community, right in downtown Newark. The next plan, you can find me right now on Instagram, and we'll link that in the bio and the show notes at Justin, and that's JUHZSTIN.
Okay.
And that's the place you can DM me directly. I know we talked about that open door. I truly mean it. I truly mean it. And that's resources wise. If I'm not the man to help you and be that hammer, constructive hammer. Yeah. There's plenty of individuals in the circle, in the network. There's a whole bunch of tools that are ready to hammer that constructive version of you. And so please reach out. Absolutely.
Awesome. Justin, as usual, man, always such a giver. And a server, and like we need more leaders like yourself. And I want to thank you for joining me. And I'll see you in the gym shortly, man.
There's absolutely, bro. This has been incredible. Thank you everyone who came on to listen and everyone who's going to take this in at some point in time. There's plenty here, and I'm excited to expand and get more tactical on the next time we do this. I know some people are like, how do we get the ball spinning a little bit more?
Listen, this was powerful. Whatever was said, it was meant to, for some ears, at least one, to hear it and see it, man. So it's been that's been great. So thank you so much, Justin. And till next time, my man, have a beautiful evening. Later.
Beautiful evening. Cheers.
Later. And gang, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Justin Abad, thank you so much, Colleen. Mike, thank you so much for tuning in. And guys, thank you all for giving us your time and your attention. I'm sure you got some value out of that. Please let us know if you watch live or if it was replay. Please do share this if you found it valuable with those in your circle, so that way everyone can rise in the boat together. And everyone in your crew can level up, and that's going to create greater success, greater happiness, and more wholeness for you. And so if you can share that, that would be great. And gang, we spoke about New Year's resolutions. And as Justin said, I'm personally not a huge proponent of New Year's resolutions. I am a huge proponent of commitments. And what are you committed to this year? And with that being said, okay, we created a workbook for you all. A goal-setting workbook. And if you would like that, please send us a private message. We will need your email to send that over to you, but you will have that. That way you put pen to pad, because it's not real until you put pen to pad. We have things here all the time. And I want to state a quote from Oprah. When I say Oprah, everyone knows. We don't even have to mention the last name. She mentioned that, and it's not going to be verbatim. It won't be verbatim, but she mentioned something like, your life is not what you want, but what you believe. And so it's important to get those things down on paper, because when you can do that, and if you heard it all before, if you can believe it, you can achieve it. And I wholeheartedly believe that. And so if you're interested in our 2021 workbook to help you live, to not only achieve your better body, but also your better life, then please just DM us, message us, or you can email us at info at jcf.fitness. And please, no .com, it's .fitness. Okay, so info at jcf.fitness to get your workbook. And per usual, if you have any questions, please type them in. We'll be sure to get to them. If not, I want you all to have a beautiful evening. And as Justin said, 3 things to set you up for a really awesome day. You know, tomorrow starts tonight with setting your plan and being intentional, being purposeful with what you're doing. All right. So again, you can email us at info@jcf.fitness, or you can just message us wherever you're seeing this, comment, and we'll be sure to get that over to you. Okay. So you all have a wonderful evening. We'll be back next Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you share that with those that are in your circle. And all it takes, we're not asking for much, is just take a quick click. That's a millisecond to click and share this to your page. Leave a comment, all of that good stuff. Tag someone that needs to hear this. That would be awesome. And again, please let us know if you're watching this live or if it was a replay. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will see you all next Thursday. Peace.